очень рада представить вам председателя международного конкурса жюри FLAHERTIANA Майкла Коллинза. Он режиссер и, так сказать, сам себе дистрибьютор. Так и называется его мастер-класс «Эффективный прокат».
I don't know what she said, but thank you for the warm introduction.
Я не знаю, что она сказала, но спасибо за теплый прием.
So first, I just want to ask, is everyone familiar with the term impact campaign? Is that something that you've all heard before associated with documentary filmmakers, an impact campaign?
Есть вопрос. Вы знакомы с термином impact campaign, скажем так, кампания по изменению общества в рамках контексте документального кино? Кто-нибудь знаком?
No. Okay. All right. I was going to use two films that I've made as case studies, and they're both very different. The first one I'm going to go through very quickly because I think that if we focus more on the second one, the first one I can talk about some mistakes that I've made, Give Up Tomorrow.
Я использую в качестве примеров два моих фильма, как кейс-стади. Во первом я хотела бы поговорить очень быстро, в основном остановиться на втором.
And with Almost Sunrise, that's my most recent film, I think if we look closely at my process for distribution, for self-distribution with that, you'll get to really understand how, what kind of tools, I created or to make that a success. For 2 years now, I've been sort of touring with that film and have found a way to make that sustainable.
Я хотела бы рассказать о собственном опыте дистрибьюции второго фильма. Я ездила с ним 2 года, и я хотела бы рассказать разные фишки, которые важны для меня.
Okay, and you can also stop me if I'm talking too much.
Yeah, it's a bit too much.
Okay, all right. Sorry, this is a new process for me also with the live translation. So, an impact campaign, essentially I make documentary films that have a social issue attached to them, and hoping that this film, this piece of media can be used as a tool to make change in the world.
Я снимала документальные фильмы о социальных проблемах, потому что я надеялась, что они действительно изменят мир.
And my first film, Give Up Tomorrow, actually making the film was inspired by wanting to correct an injustice. It was when I learned about a young man who was on death row, who was innocent. That's what inspired me to make that film.
Мой первый фильм был столкновением с несправедливостью. Это фильм о посмертно осужденном молодом человеке, и я на его примере занимался работой с несправедливостью через кино.
But I didn't know what I was doing, so it took me a very long time.
Я не знала, что я делала, и поэтому я очень долго работал.
And I was discovering what to do. I was reacting instead of sort of being proactive. I was being reactive instead of proactive.
В основном мои действия были реакцией, а не основным действием. Я был скорее ответным, а не актором.
So, that's okay. I saw that the power that the film had, after people watched it, they wanted to do something. They wanted to take action. And so I realized that it was my responsibility to create an impact campaign, a campaign that would be able to take that energy, that enthusiasm, that desire to make change and put it in and give it direction.
Чтобы люди начали что-то делать, им нужно, что-то должно произойти. И я понял, что это должен быть мой фильм, который вдохновит их на действия, которые позволят им действовать.
So with Give Up Tomorrow, I spent many years. I made a short film that premiered in Spain because, for political reasons, the guy that I was trying to save was half Spanish.
Сначала я снял короткометражку, и ее показали в Испании, потому что этнически этот молодой человек наполовину испанец.
And then I spent 5 more years in production to make Give Up Tomorrow, which was for a worldwide audience.
А после этого я 5 лет работал над созданием фильма для мирового сообщества.
So we'll take a moment right now and we'll show the first video, which is the Puma Impact Award. It will tell the story of Give Up Tomorrow and some of the impact that the film was able to make.
Сейчас мы покажем вам видео про этот фильм, который выиграла премию Puma за кампанию по изменению общества.
Fair. He doesn't deserve to be there any more than I do, or that you do, because he didn't do anything to the Chong sisters.
Somewhere, somehow, sometime, the truth will still come out. I just hope it won't be too late. Soy Paco de Arañaga, soy un español. 8 años se llevo en un cárcel aquí en Filipinas y soy inocente. Pido al gobierno español y a la Unión Europea, por favor, escúchame, ayúdame. Por favor, no me abandonéis.
I mean, the frustration and the anger that you feel watching that film, I thought was very powerful.
It was like this presence that people couldn't speak of and couldn't face. And it made me want to go after that system.
Ha aprovechado la visita oficial para mediar por el español condenado a muerte en Filipinas, Francisco Larrañaga. Le ha pedido a la presidenta Gloria Macapagal clemencia.
Gran paso, ¿no?, para estar aquí en España, pero la lucha no termina aquí, ¿no? Tenemos que seguir luchando porque él no ha hecho esos crímenes, así que tenemos ese deseo de que tenga su libertad.
I believe this is a film for all, frankly, all lawyers, policemen, investigators in Camp Crame, everywhere, judges, journalists. I think this is a social commentary about us.
I think that gives you an idea of what an impact campaign is. Yeah, so we had the film, but we also had all of these actions for people to take, signature campaigns and, you know, all kinds of actions that would help to make change in this case.
Я думаю, это дает вам представление о том, что такая кампания по изменению общества не только с помощью фильма, но и с помощью петиций, документов и разных других акций.
And this is a few years old now. There's a lot more that's happened with Paco in his case, and he's actually living outside now of prison. So it's a long story, and I won't get into it too much now. But we're showing Give Up tomorrow night, so you can come and see, and we can talk all about it then.
На самом деле это уже долгая история. Этот фильм снимался несколько лет назад, и много действий произошло с тех пор, и Пако, слава богу, уже на свободе.
But something I do want to say is that the impact campaign and the film, they're two separate things in a way, even though they're very interconnected.
Но я должна сказать, что кампания по изменению общества и фильм — это все-таки разные вещи. Их многое связывает, но это отдельно.
And they often have a separate budget and even separate team members that work on each part of the project.
Очень часто у них бывают разные бюджеты, разные команды, которые над ними работают.
And obviously they support each other along the way, but they also have their own separate trajectory, their own separate paths.
Они поддерживают друг друга, но идут разными путями.
And the most important thing for me is, you know, that we're filmmakers, so we're making something that is a film, that's entertaining, that's going to get distribution, and it's not just a piece of propaganda that has an agenda.
Главное снять хороший, сильный фильм. Ну, насколько я поняла, главное не слиться с пропагандой.
Yeah. So for me, it's about, you know, my approach is to do character-driven. I'm really concerned about the story. If you don't get distribution, if people aren't seeing the film, it's actually not going to make change in the world. So I think the most important thing is to really stay true to your artistic integrity in the beginning of the process.
В общем, очень важно уделять внимание художественным аспектам и аспектам, связанным с прокатом, потому что если этот фильм не выйдет в прокат, то никаких изменений не получится.
So I will say something interesting that just happened with Give Up Tomorrow is, even though the film premiered in 2011, last month it went viral in the Philippines and had about 15 million views online.
Хотя фильм был выпущен в 2011 году, именно в последний месяц он произвел хайп в Филиппинах, и там было 15 миллионов просмотров.
Someone created a film, a fiction film, a narrative film, about the lies that we actually exposed in the case.
И кто-то снял даже художественный фильм, основанный на лжи, которую мы вскрыли в этом фильме.
And the public who had seen this film was so angry, someone pirated my film, they stole it, and they put it on Facebook, and it was the best thing that could have happened to us.
Кто-то был настолько тронут этим фильмом, что они как бы пиратски его скачали и загрузили на Facebook, чтобы все его смогли увидеть, и это лучшее, что могло произойти с этим фильмом.
And the film is about 7 innocent men. We focus in on one of them, but it's about 7. And now there's a whole movement, again, to save the rest of these guys.
Главный герой фильма — это один из 7 невинно осужденных молодых людей, и сейчас наша задача — это спасти остальных 6.
We'll take a moment and we'll just watch the trailer for Almost Sunrise, and then we'll have a conversation about that.
Сейчас посмотрим трейлер другого фильма «Скоро рассвет».
Pretty clear when someone says, I'm going to drop what I'm doing and walk to California from Wisconsin, he's dealing with something.
What we thought we were fighting for was to bring democracy to Iraq.
And I remember he called me one night and he said, will you think less of me when I have to kill someone?
It really came to me that I needed to do something now, quickly, to help myself.
They plan to walk about 2,700 miles.
Are you processing any of these memories? Is this helping you?
Give daddy a kiss.
One of my personal goals is to be a better dad and a better husband.
You have to grab that power and say, I choose to learn from this.
And so meeting a lot of these new people has helped me maybe like restore some level of faith in people.
Since we don't know too much about impact campaigns, I'll talk a little bit about how we came up with the vision for our impact campaign and established it.
Если не все знают, что такое импакт-компания, я расскажу о том, какое мое видение импакт-компании.
Okay, so there are two resources on the internet that are really great, and I will see if there are if they exist in Russian also. I know that they've been translated into many languages. One is the Impact Field Guide by a group called Doc Society that used to be BritDoc, and the other is the Impact Workbook from the Fledgling Fund.
В общем, два этих сайта — это два основных источника информации об импакт-компаниях, и они есть на очень многих языках, и я проверю, есть они на русском.
So the Field Guide, what it does is it talks about traditionally, filmmakers think just about distribution. They think just when they finish their film, how am I going to get it in festivals, in theaters, on television, on Netflix.
Обычно режиссеры очень много продумывают дистрибьюцию и думают, что когда они сняли фильм, как он будет, куда он пойдет дальше, в кинотеатры, в интернет.
People were handling those separate. So the change that they wanted to create in the world, they would work completely separate from the traditional distribution, and that was a problem. Because it was just too much work to do both things separately.
В импакт-компании есть очень много, что нужно сделать, поэтому обычно разводятся, это разные виды деятельности. Одно — это импакт-компания, другая — это дистрибьюция.
So what BritDoc, now Doc Society, talks about is the need to really combine these two things and to leverage what's happening on one track with the other.
Doc Society говорят, что нужно уметь комбинировать два этих рода вида деятельности так, чтобы они друг друга поддерживали.
And I'll go into that more specifically when we get a little further along, but it has to do a lot with the media that you're getting and just different things that can work for both at the same time.
Я чуть подробнее об этом расскажу. Это во многом зависит от того типа СМИ, которые вы используете и так далее.
So, when thinking about an impact campaign, the first thing you have to come up with is what is your mission statement? What is the vision? What's the change that you want to see in the world?
Нужно начать с того, чтобы определить, какая ваша миссия, какое ваше видение, что вы хотите изменить в мире.
This film came about because of a suicide crisis that's happening in the U.S., where 20 veterans are taking their own lives every day.
Этот фильм родился, потому что в США сейчас есть кризис самоубийств, и 20 ветеранов войны совершают самоубийство каждый день.
And a real feeling of separation between the veteran community and the civilian population.
Из-за отчуждения между отстраненности от обычных людей.
And also the way that they were being treated was with a lot of medication, which was actually just contributing to the suicide. The treatments that were being given to them by the government were not working.
Вторая причина — это то, что в основном основная программа по их реабилитации была связана с лекарствами, но это усугубляло ситуацию и это приводило к суицидам. То есть основной способ их лечения не работал.
And the last thing is, we talk a lot in the U.S. about post-traumatic stress, fear-based trauma, to your nervous system. But what this film talks about is moral injury. It's a lot deeper. It's about wounds to the soul, things that happen when people have to go and kill other people, when they go and fight wars that they don't know what they're fighting for.
Часто говорят о синдроме ПТСР, посттравматическом синдроме, но в этом фильме мы отделяем посттравматический синдром от моральной травмы, от чувства того, что ты сделал что-то неправильное, что ты убил кого-то, от моральных страданий и метаний.
So, our goal for the Impact campaign was to empower veterans to heal and present, hopeful solutions for moral injury and the suicide crisis.
Задача этого фильма была в эмпауэрменте ветеранов, в том, чтобы помочь им преодолеть ПТСР и стресс.
Okay. Okay. I won't go into this too much, but to create an impact campaign, the Fledgling Fund's Impact Workbook walks you through it step by step, really holds your hand and helps you kind of define your impact campaign.
В общем, The Fledgling, вот эта методичка, рассказывает, как нужно делать импакт-кампанию шаг за шагом.
I will just talk about one exercise that they have in there, which is the outcome map, which is very helpful. So it starts, you think about the goals for the campaign, and then what activities are going to move you towards those goals.
Я расскажу об одном упражнении с картой результатов, в которой нужно записывать свои цели.
And that's too small, but ultimately I came up with 4 sort of pillars for our campaign that then helped us define our whole distribution model.
В общем, я пришел к выводу, что в основе этой кампании должно лежать 4 направления.
We wanted to educate people about moral injury, because it's not something that people have been talking about.
Первое — это просвещение по поводу моральной травмы.
Promote wellness that is more holistic, that is outside of the traditional, pharmaceutical.
Is it meditation?
Yeah, it uses meditation, yeah.
Это что-то вроде самосознания, которое практикуется в том числе и с помощью медитации.
To work towards legislative change, to have laws changed that would help support this as well.
Третье направление по поводу изменения законодательства.
And then to connect communities, to bring veterans and civilians together.
И связь между сообществами ветеранов, например, и других людей.
So one of the first things we did is we started forming partnerships with organizations that were already trying to do this work, who could use the film to help amplify their message.
Мы стали налаживать взаимодействие с организациями, которые уже помогали ветеранам.
And by forming these partnerships, it would also allow us to have a more successful campaign.
И это позволило нам быть более успешными.
For the distribution, I think about this, it's been for 2 years now. This premiered in 2016, and we're approaching 2 years now. So the first phase
Фильм вышел 2 года назад. Первая фаза была
was our premiere at a festival.
Премьера на фестивале.
And starting to build content and partnerships for the campaign.
И наработка, сбор содержания для того, чтобы распространять его по разным СМИ.
So after the first 6 months of doing festivals, then we did a phase which was community screening tours, which meant that we had screenings for very targeted audiences who would respond specifically to this film.
И потом мы провели 6 месяцев, показывая фильмы конкретной аудитории разных сообществ.
And in all of that, for every screening, we were getting paid. So it was a way to keep revenue coming in while we were keeping the film out there.
И это были платные показы, так что параллельно мы еще и собирали немного денег.
And then the last phase, for the past year, we took everything that we learned from the first 2 phases and expanded it even more. We focused on educational, which in the US, there's a lot of revenue from selling to universities and things like that.
Мы собрали очень много информации, и все, чему мы научились, мы как бы передали в образование.
television, theatrical, and online. So it's the more traditional stuff as well as some non-traditional as well.
В общем, это распространяли и в образовании, и по телевизору, и в театрах, и, ну, как это было ближе к типичному представлению о прокате, о дистрибьюции.
I want to stop for a moment. Does anyone have any questions at the moment that they want to ask? Because I'll dive into each one of these phases and really unpack it a bit.
Я буду рассказывать более подробно о каждой фазе.
Okay, so with the premiere, you know, one thing that I'll say about festivals is with Give Up Tomorrow, our distribution model was the festival circuit.
В случае «Откажись от завтрашнего дня» в основном наша дистрибьюция была сконцентрирована именно на фестивале.
Because they do a lot of work for you. It's amazing. Festivals have an audience, they have marketing, they have great venues. There's so much that's already in place for you.
Потому что в фестивалях уже очень многое есть, у них разработанная система, у них есть своя аудитория, у них есть рынок и так далее.
And oftentimes if you have a film that has a campaign attached to it, festivals will also make space for you to share the campaign.
И, конечно же, фестивали идут навстречу, если нужно помочь вашей компании распространить ее.
And with festivals, you also should make sure that you're asking for screening fees, because that's a, you know, with Give Up Tomorrow, we played in something like 80 festivals, and we didn't know to ask for screening fees. And if you don't ask, oftentimes they won't offer. But it's okay. You should be paid for your work.
В общем, вам нужно сразу решить, будете ли вы просить деньги за показы на фестивалях или нет, потому что, скорее всего, вам не предложат, но это нормально, если вам платят за вашу работу.
So for Almost Sunrise, we had a premiere at a place called Mountain Film and Telluride in the U.S., and we decided that we were going to do some campaign activities. So aside from just having a screening and a talk, we scheduled many other activities that all supported the Impact campaign.
Первый показ фестиваля в Америке был на Mountain Film Festival, и у нас было много разных активностей. Это очень важно, сопровождать фильм разными активностями.
And then we brought cameras with us. So, you know, I brought 2 people to come and film the whole festival as well, because we felt like the media that we collected at the festival, if all of these campaign activities were a success, would help get funding for us to keep moving forward and help to get more screenings.
Я попросил людей снимать то, что происходило на этих активностях, чтобы у нас было больше материалов, которых мы могли бы сделать ролики, которые помогли бы нам в дальнейшем тоже найти деньги.
So the image that you're seeing here is the main subject of our film, Tom, leading a meditation, which was a huge success. We had to turn people away. So many people came, and that was the day after the screening.
На этой фотографии мы видим главного героя фильма, Тома, который проводит медитацию для людей, которые пришли. Их было так много, что кого-то пришлось отправить обратно.
And something that I always did, which is a little bit old school, was I brought clipboards and left them out for people to write their email. And collecting emails actually helps later down the line when you're sending out newsletters.
Я сделала немного старомодную вещь. Я попросил людей оставить их имейл, потому что, мне кажется, это важно, быть на связи.
And you're also collecting quotes from people, so the head of the festival, people from organizations who are aligned with your mission, who have seen the film, getting them to send you an email with some quotes or even getting them on camera. These are very simple things that will have a lot of value later on to help you sell your film and keep it out there.
Также очень важно собирать обратную связь от зрителей или в виде текстовых цитат, или просто снимать людей на камеру и просить их оставить отзыв. Это тоже поможет вам в дальнейшем составить больше материалов и получить деньги.
So that's content. That when I was saying earlier, content, collecting all of this stuff. This is, you're just sticking all these tools in your pocket so you can pull them out later on.
У вас должны были быть карманы полные всяких материалов, чтобы потом вы могли сбрасываться.
Something else that's very useful is creating a press release, which is really just something that you can send to local newspapers or things like that will announce your film, what it's about, give them some quotes. you want to make it very simple for people to write about your project.
Очень важно сделать хороший пресс-релиз. Он должен быть довольно простым, и можно его отправлять местным журналистам, и вообще журналистам и так далее.
And there are great bloggers out there. There's all kinds of ways that you can generate sort of impressions, media impressions about your film.
Также есть блогеры. В общем, нужно искать все возможности распространять информацию о фильме.
And for this film, our first 3 festivals were pretty, what we would consider bigger ones. Like, so we hired a publicist to do a lot of this work for us because we felt that it was worth it in the beginning. So we raised a little bit of money, put it into a publicist, and then that generated a lot of press.
Первые фестивали были довольно большие, и мы наняли журналиста, который писал основную работу, основные материалы.
Yeah. So after our first 3 festivals, we got lots of press, and this then becomes, again, more tools that you're going to use to promote the community screenings.
После первых 3 фестивалей было очень много материалов в прессе, и это помогло нам со следующим этапом, с показами для сообщества.
Something different that we did for this campaign was, instead of always, you're always fundraising as a filmmaker, you're always trying to raise funds, whether it's for the film, for the distribution, for the campaign. So when we went to the festival and brought cameras with us, I turned that into a video, which then became one of the greatest assets that the campaign had to raise funds.
Если вы режиссер, вы все время ищете деньги, думаете, как их собрать, и я собрал видео из всех этих параллельных активностей, которые реально помогло собрать больше денег потом.
So I'll show that video now. It's going to show you the premiere, and then it's going to show you these campaign activities that I talked about, these different activities that they allowed us to do at the festival.
Это видео из материалов с премьеры и с остальных активностей.
The film that we see tonight is a big movie with the world premiere non-film, and as a programmer that makes me incredibly proud.
I didn't experience the horrors they did. I feel a kinship because I was in active military, and the movie, the way it was presented, was the perfect way to let other people know what it was like and what the guys are going through. It was done beautifully without sensationalism, showing that there's human people inside those young men.
Oh, it's tremendous. I can't stop crying. And I'm a filmmaker. It gave so much hope and resolution and answers to this whole situation that we're all struggling with, especially the veterans, obviously.
I never knew just how much it affects so many people. I didn't realize how many suicides there are every day. And it really made me more aware of how much I want to do for the vets.
My thought was, I think every legislator, senator, congressman, and administrator in the VA should be tied to a chair and made to watch this thing. It's that important.
It's so powerful to see the transformation of a human being, and that yoga and meditation and breath work is life-changing, from everything from moral injury and PTSD to just average community like the world at large.
I was in the military. I was in it for 6 years. I know what you go through. I'm in awe of how he reached this destination physically and mentally and how he was able to get through it. It's absolutely a stunning, beautiful movie.
soldiers. They paint you as a hero.
My dad was in World War II, and they came back as heroes, but he had such a deep pain from what happened. But he was so detached and in so much pain, and he went to live all his life. He never healed, but I can forgive him for being an alcoholic. I can forgive him for being detached. I want to tell everybody I forgive him for all the pain he caused in our family, because he didn't know any better. Thank you for sharing this, because it's helped heal me.
And I saw it, and I left. I said, sweetheart, I'm going to be a better person as a result of this. A better husband, a better father. And it goes.
It was very hard coming home from Iraq to trust people, to get over a lot of the issues that we came home with. And to come here, to have this experience, it really is quite healing. So thank you very much to the entire community of Telluride and to the entire film festival. Thank you very much.
Oh, sunrise! Thank
That gives you an idea that on one hand you have the film and then you have the campaign, and this is how we brought them both together. And by making this video, we were showing everyone else, instead of having to describe what these activities were, they actually got to see it.
Мы видим, что есть фильм, есть компания, и с помощью компании можно показать, что вообще возможно сделать.
And I also want to tell you, this is not typical. Not all filmmakers in the U.S. are doing this and having so many activities and doing all this kind of stuff. This was a little atypical, but it worked well for this specific film.
В общем, это не типичная ситуация, не все режиссеры в Америке так делают, это скорее было исключение из правил.
That's a good question. the budget is separate. So I have a budget for the film and then a budget for the impact campaign, and there are funders who specifically fund impact campaigns.
В общем, это два разных бюджета, один на фильм, один на кампанию, и есть люди, которые финансируют непосредственно кампанию.
You know, when it comes to funding that video, we applied for a grant from someone, and instead of making us fill out the typical grant application, actually this happened with two different people, they watched that video and we got the grant. So it saved me a lot of time writing a grant because I'm not a good writer.
So someone offered you a grant?
Yeah, they awarded us a grant based on that video, instead of having to go through the traditional process of writing an
В
application.
общем, вместо того, чтобы мы сами писали грант, я не очень хорошо пишу гранты, кто-то увидел это видео и сам решил дать нам грант.
So for phase 2, so after we spent some months on the road, went to, I think we played about 40 festivals, and we brought I brought a camera with me whenever I could.
Мы объездили 40 фестивалей, и я брал камеру, куда всегда носил с собой видеокамеру.
And oftentimes I could even just use my phone. It's not so, for some of these videos, it's not about the quality, it's really about the content.
Иногда я снимал на телефон, потому что в этом случае важно не качество, а наполнение, содержание.
So for example, I knew that we were going to do a big push for educational sales. That's really the biggest thing in the US for documentary filmmakers, is to sell to universities. So I brought a camera with me, and every time I was at a screening and there were teachers in the room, I would pull them aside after and I would get them to talk to me for 2 minutes on camera.
Очень большую роль имели показы в образовании для учеников, и каждый раз я брал с собой камеру, и после показа я отводил учителей в сторонку и снимал их, чтобы они пару минут сказали мне что-то.
And then I cut another short video from that, of those highlights, that we could then send out to people at universities and colleges all over the country with a link to buy the film.
Я сделал отдельное видео с тем, что говорят студенты и учащиеся университетов, колледжей по всей стране.
So phase 2 was our community screening tour, and we worked with a group who basically, they got to understand our film and the campaign, and then they did the outreach for us. They reached out to groups all over the country to see if they wanted to do screenings of the film.
В общем, второй шаг — это показы для сообществ, и у нас была специальная команда, которая планировала, что там должно происходить.
This organization is called Film Sprout, and what their model is, they charge for every screening. So even though we're paying them, essentially it all pays for itself because they're getting the film out there, which means that we're making the change that we want to in the world because a lot of people are seeing it. And at the same time, we're able to generate revenue to pay for this aspect of the distribution.
Этими показами для сообществ занималась отдельная компания, фильм Sprout, и несмотря на то, что мы платили им, чтобы они делали свою работу, мы потом пожинали плоды, и мы тоже получили деньги, и не только деньги, но и то, что этот фильм увидело больше людей, в общем, то, что он продвигался дальше.
So, for example, they might reach out to a network of church groups that want to do something for their community and engage with veterans. And they would pay a community screening fee, which was always negotiable, but it would be around $400.
Например, они могли работать с религиозными сообществами, показывать фильм им, и они примерно брали $400 за каждое сообщество.
Then we also did outreach to many corporations because a lot of them want to do service for the veterans who work for them, like Google and some of the big banks and things like that. They have a bigger wallet, so we would ask them for more money because it would obviously help the campaign.
Также мы делали показы для разных больших корпораций, например, Google, потому что эти корпорации тоже хотят помогать ветеранам, и так как у них большие кошельки, то мы просили у них больше денег за показы.
And then conferences. There are a lot of organizations out there that have conferences in the country that this kind of content, whether they were healthcare workers or they were there to support veterans or mental health care, things like that, we would think of people who would find this content interesting, reach out to them and see if they wanted to show the film at their conference.
Также очень важно показывать на конференциях, например, это могут быть профессиональные медицинские работники, социальные работники, психиатры, те, кто как-то связан с темой ветеранов и ментальных проблем.
And then the other aspect of this is we would ask if they wanted any of the filmmakers, myself, the producer, or the film subjects, anyone who appeared in the film, to come and talk. And if they invited us, they would pay a fee.
Также мы спрашивали, хотели ли бы они, чтобы кто-то из команды фильма, или герои, или я, или продюсеры пришли на конференцию и выступили бы на ней. И за это мы тоже просили деньги.
And I'm terrible at negotiating. I'm terrible at asking for money. So it's really nice to have someone else do all of that stuff for you.
Я совершенно не умею просить деньги, но это очень круто, когда кто-то другой делает это вместо тебя.
I think it's our nature when we create something, we want to just give it for free. We want people to see it because oftentimes we make it because we care. We care about the subject. We don't really care about the money, but we have to get better at asking for money because then we can sustain this career.
Это довольно естественно, что ты что-то сделал, и ты хочешь делиться этим бесплатно, потому что ты, в общем, тебя не беспокоят деньги, тебя беспокоит то, что ты сделал, но очень важно уметь научиться просить деньги, потому что это поможет поддерживать работу дальше.
But of course, there are always exceptions, and there's always times where you are going to give it for free because they can't afford it, or because having it shown there will really help the campaign.
Но всегда есть исключения, некоторые случаи, когда люди действительно не могут оплатить показ, и там нужно делать его бесплатно. Или, например, нужно обязательно бесплатно показать фильм на каком-то событии, потому что это принесет гораздо больше пользы.
The other thing that we did during phase 2 was we developed a discussion guide and a lesson plan so that people could use the film. They would be able to facilitate a conversation without us there, or if they wanted to use it in a school, they could actually work it into their curriculum.
Также мы разработали специальную методичку по дискуссии, по обсуждению этого фильма и составили примерный план урока для показа этого фильма.
This is a little bit of an investment also to create this material, but it pays for itself almost immediately when you make, a few sales to a university.
Это тоже требует вложений, но это обязательно воздастся вам сторицей, когда вы будете показывать это в университетах и других учебных заведениях.
Okay. This is an example of going to a conference of an organization that it was a national conference for the Student Veterans of America organization.
Это национальная конференция студентов Америки.
And I knew that they had 1,400 chapters, and a lot of the presidents of each of those chapters were going to be at this conference.
Там было 14 тысяч глав, пунктов, и я знала, что все они будут обсуждаться.
So they allowed me to have a table for free, and I brought my laptop, which showed the trailer and a sample from a screening that I did to show people what it looked like to host a screening at a university. And I brought some materials, that had quotes from student veterans. I brought the clipboard so that people could just write down their email address. And this 2 days of my life probably, got us 50 or 100 screenings.
Как вы видите, мне выделили стол, я поставила туда компьютер с несколькими роликами, которые показывают то, как могут проходить показы в университетах. Там были листовки, список, лист, куда можно записать контакты. И, в общем, 2 эти дня, которые я провел на этой конференции, обеспечило мне несколько лет успешных показов.
And then it's always important to take pictures with people because you put it up on your social media, on your Facebook, and you tag them, and then all of a sudden their whole networks are now pointing back towards your film, your project, and it's reminding them of the meeting that they had with you.
Важно придумывать хэштеги, чтобы люди везде отмечали то, что они были на вашем фильме и так далее.
And what I would do is when I would collect all of these emails and cards from people, I would then come back and I would hand it to the member of my team who was doing the outreach. So I would go spend these 2 days, meet everyone, and then I would write a simple email and introduce them to a member of my team, and then I would no longer be a part of the conversation. They would then talk to them about setting up a screening, negotiating prices, and things like that.
В общем, я собирал эти имейлы, знакомился с людьми, а потом передавал все эти имейлы членам моей команды, которые дальше подхватывали коммуникацию, и я уже был больше за нее не ответственен, и они предлагали этим людям устраивать показы и продолжать с ними общаться.
Okay. Something else that we did aside is I reached out to a local bank who liked to connect with their community, a regional bank that had about 15 branches in a state called Colorado.
Я обратился в местный банк, у которого было 15 отделений в штате Колорадо.
And for Veterans Day, they decided to take the film and created 10 screenings near each one of their branches as a way to give back to their community, as a way to do service to their community.
И на День ветерана этот банк предложил устроить показы рядом с каждым из их офисов, как дань уважения ветеранам.
And for them, it earned them news. They were on television, and they had many articles that were written about them. So even though they paid us a premium license fee, $1,000 per screening, they got so much press, and they actually were doing a great service to their community at the same time.
Несмотря на то, что это они заплатили нам $1000 за показ, они получили гораздо больше, потому что они попали в новости, и они их часто писали в прессе.
And they invited me to come to the last screening to do a question and answer with the audience. So when I went, of course, I brought a little camera and I sat them down and I did quick interviews and I turned it into a short video so that I could then pitch it to other local businesses.
Они пригласили меня на сессию вопросов и ответов с аудиторией, а я в свою очередь взял камеру и попросила их дать интервью для небольшого видео, которое я дальше использовал.
So I'm obviously not showing all the videos; they're all on our website. But
все видео можно найти на нашем сайте.
And then also we created some simple materials. So as I was saying, he gave me some quotes, so I wrote one of his quotes. I created a PDF with 2 sides, so we could just email it to people. So many people would never even think to work with a film. They don't know that there's any benefit. They've never done anything like that before, so you have to educate them.
В общем, мы сделали простые материалы, например, PDF-ки двухсторонние, в которых рассказано то, как можно работать с фильмами, потому что многие люди даже не представляют, что может сделать показ.
So I gathered quotes from certain people and then told them the benefits. This is what kind of benefits are, you can bring to your organization by showing this film.
В общем, там есть разные цитаты, и я перечислил, какую выгоду могут дать показы для той или иной организации.
Okay, this next section is useful for everyone. Even if you're not making social issue campaigns and you just want to do the distribution yourself, this, I think, is relevant for everybody.
Это важно всем, даже если вы не собираетесь сами заниматься дистрибьюцией.
As we know, the distribution landscape is changing so much. It used to be that you would just sell all your rights to a distributor and they would do everything for you, where now it seems like it makes much more sense to do it yourself.
Раньше предполагалось, что все за вас будет делать дистрибьютор, но сейчас важно уметь это делать самостоятельно.
So there are some different elements that if you just have access to all of these and make these few things accessible, you'll be able to get your film out in many, many different ways.
Если у вас есть возможность сделать все, что перечислено в этом списке, то вы можете продвинуть фильм далеко.
So I'll go through each one in more detail, but obviously you need key art, you need your poster. That's the very first thing that you're making.
Первый пункт key art, это постер и разная арт-продукция, связанная с фильмом.
A press kit, an electronic press kit, is several pages where it's a PDF that you're generating that just has all of the information about it. So if someone wants to write an article or promote the film, they can get everything that they need from this one document. And I can share that later if people are interested in seeing one.
Электронный пресс-кит — это подборка материалов, которые могут использовать журналисты, чтобы писать о вашем фильме. Я могу показать в конце то, как выглядит наш пресс-кит.
It contains a synopsis, a background on the subject of the film, a statement from the director, a little bit about the film, and then the biographies of the people and the subjects of the film.
В него входит описание фильма, описание контекста данной проблемы, позиция режиссера.
Obviously, the trailer. You need to have a trailer, and some people will point to it on YouTube, but some want to take it and they want to show it on their own site, so you can make the trailer accessible and downloadable to people if you'd like.
Важно, чтобы ваш трейлер был и чтобы он был доступен для людей или на YouTube или где-то еще.
And if you have a campaign, and you can see that I made a campaign trailer in a sense, so also making that available if you have a campaign.
Если вы делаете отдельно кампанию, должен быть трейлер у компании, не только у фильма.
You want to choose some stills, about 10 stills, put them in a folder, because when someone writes an article, when they're going to do a blog post, when they're going to screen your film and show it, they want to have some stills to pull from. They don't want just that same one that everyone else is using. So choose some of the best ones.
В общем, выберите примерно 10 разных скриншотов, чтобы журналисты могли использовать разные, не только один и тот же.
Headshots of the team, people in the film, people involved in the film. It's a simple thing, but just have your headshots there because those are useful sometimes too.
Понадобятся также портреты членов вашей команды, это и актеры, и те, кто занимается компанией.
Clips, video clips are something that people want access to as well. So you can just go through your film and just choose sections, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, a few clips, because if someone is doing a news report on television or they're doing a radio report and they want to be able to pull some audio or video, they need to have access to this.
Подготовьте несколько фрагментов вашего фильма и разместите их, чтобы ими могли пользоваться на телевидении или даже на радио, просто звуковую дорожку использовать.
As you can see already, what I have done with this campaign is I created a lot more video content. So I would get testimonials from people who saw the film, from different communities, so I would include those, and I continued to make short videos from different events.
В общем, я набрал очень много видео отдельных зрителей, отзывы разных сообществ.
You need to have your social media platforms up and running. Facebook is probably the most important. I am not very good with Twitter. If you can have someone on your team that's good with Twitter. Otherwise, I have my Facebook. Every time I do a post, it automatically also generates a tweet. There are some purists out there that would say that that's a terrible thing to do, but it works for me.
Обязательно должны быть группы в социальных сетях. Facebook, скорее всего, самая важная платформа. Также, может быть, Twitter, хотя я в нем не очень хорошо разбираюсь. Иногда, если мы делаем постер, я его публикую. Кто-то подумает, что это не совсем подходит Твиттеру, но это мой стиль.
And a YouTube channel. You should have a dedicated YouTube channel, probably, to the film.
Отдельный канал на YouTube.
And then what you want to do with that toolkit is you want to make it as easy as possible for everyone to get access to all of it. And I did that by putting a folder on a cloud, on Dropbox, or I also put it up on my website, so I have it in two different places. I have a page on my website where you can go and download all of the individual things, or I have a folder that has all of it, where you can pull it all down at one time.
Очень важно, чтобы было легко собрать все эти материалы, например, создать большую папку на Dropbox, или у меня также, помимо Dropbox, была папка на моем личном сайте. В общем, это собрать все эти материалы.
And this is just an example of other organizations taking the material and making their own materials from it.
Это пример того, как другие организации берут наши материалы и делают свои материалы.
Does anyone have any questions about this toolkit?
Вопросы по пресс-киту?
No, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, I'll show one more video because it's, my whole, I guess, approach is often show, don't tell. That it's much easier to show people, to give them something visceral, experiential, emotional, to engage with them as opposed to talking to them, writing things. So that's why creating videos has been such a big part of my approach to the campaign.
Я хочу показать еще одно видео, потому что мне хочется показывать, а не рассказывать, чтобы люди сами смогли получить свои впечатления, эмоции и так далее. Поэтому мне кажется, что важно именно не писать, не разговаривать, а делать видеоконтент.
Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here. It's really an honor that everybody made their way to Stanford tonight for this special event. It's something that's near and dear to my heart, and I know it is near and dear to a lot of your hearts as well.
I'm actually curious how many veterans are in the room or like family members of veterans. Wow, thank you for coming out.
Watching the film was like a huge educational journey and really answered a lot of questions that I had about the mental health problems that a lot of veterans face. And things that just can't be explained by the typical PTSD definition.
What Cole is doing tonight is really the reason why we made this film. We make films because we want them to be a part of a campaign to make change in the world. We're really happy to share the film with you and really excited to have a conversation with you and all the special guests afterwards. So, thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful film. I had not encountered the idea of moral injury before, and I feel so strongly, what can I do? What can I do? How can I participate?
We're doing part of it right now, which is acknowledging it exists, acknowledging that we don't have a firm grasp on what it is, that we're learning about it together. Starting a conversation is probably one of the most powerful healing things we can do.
One of the really beautiful things about that film is that you see these two veterans wanting to reach out and to connect, and you also see all these people throughout their journey who really want to be supportive and who also have no idea how to do it. But look at the extraordinary graciousness with which they responded to that sincere desire to connect with them and to support them. We don't know the answers about what we each can individually do, but it has something to do with that willingness to connect and to start that conversation.
From where we sit in terms of providers, a lot of veterans are worried about coming in because they're worried about how they're going to be labeled or how they're going to be seen. And so the VA has made a lot of changes. We're really looking at a holistic perspective right now, providing a lot more services than have been offered in the past.
Hi, my name's Oscar Mira. First, I just want to say, great job portraying hope. I feel like that's probably the biggest weapon we can use against this. That this film kind of shows that we can get better, and this is something that doesn't have to be permanent.
When I was an Army officer, I had never even heard of the term moral injury. I wish I had seen this film at that point, but now I'm just thankful that I have seen the film and that I'm able to put on an event like this and build awareness and start conversations around it.
So even in these videos, you can see at the end, I'm putting up the logos of my partner organizations, right? So everything is about, I'm using a video like this to generate more screenings. I have people that would call,
Как вы заметили, в конце у нас был план с логотипами поддерживающих компаний-партнеров, и очень важно это делать. И каждое видео — это такой катализатор других, того, чтобы было больше показов.
And you can see that the campaign partners have a presence there. They have tables set up. They have representatives there. They have people on a panel talking with us. And when their colleagues in other states and other parts of the country see that, they think, wow, I want to do that too.
В видео показано, что есть отдельный стол для каждой компании-партнера, в котором есть люди, которые могут рассказывать о своей компании, и другие люди, которые видят это, им тоже хочется устроить такую коллаборацию.
This was an organization that had never given to a film before, and they watched that first video that I showed you from Mountain Film, and they gave us the biggest grant that they've ever given anyone.
Эта компания никогда раньше не финансировала кино, но после того, как они увидели фильм на его премьере, они выделили нам самый большой грант, который мы когда-либо получали.
And it's with that money that I then use to create some of these shorter videos, or, you know, it just helps to sustain the campaign.
И именно на эти деньги я продолжал компанию и создал последующие видео.
So the last part I'll talk about is, you know, the last year, basically taking all of these different kinds of screening models that we've used and then expanding beyond that for the last year.
Сейчас я расскажу. Последний год я пробовал разные способы показов.
And one way that we did that was creating newsletters. It was, you know, I hired someone or even had an intern that would go online and look for emails of people from certain organizations or certain universities, and we would create a newsletter and send it directly to them.
В общем, мы очень много занимались рассылками. Я специально нашел людей, которые искали бы кому можно отправить эту рассылку.
So it would be very customized. If it was to a school, we'd have a video in there about what educators think of the film. Or if it was to a veterans organization, I'd have a video about veterans talking about the film.
Если это была рассылка для школы, мы отправляли туда видео с разными учебными заведениями. Если это было НКО, которое помогало ветеранам, то у нас было видео про ветеранов.
So really what you have to think about is just having someone on your team who can respond to emails. Most of the revenue from the campaign came from sending out emails and being able to engage with people, respond to the emails, and maybe pick up the phone once in a while to talk to them.
В команде обязательно должен быть человек, который пишет имейлы, отвечает на имейлы, ну и иногда говорит по телефону.
And with each sale, it's either a few $100s for the film, or sometimes they would then invite me, or they would invite one of the other subjects, or they would want to do one of those extra activities that we showed. And with each one of those, it's sort of like an upsell. You know, it's just adding more to the revenue.
Если обычный показ будет стоить 2000, то можно добавить какие-то дополнительные активности, например, пригласить меня или сделать что-то еще, и это будет поднимать цену, но это важно.
But I would say the heart of this last phase has been educational distribution for me, is reaching out to schools, because in the US, the libraries all have a budget to buy documentaries. So if you can get to the librarian or someone and tell them about your film, there's a chance that they have a budget to buy it.
Очень важный аспект — это работа с учебными заведениями. В Америке у библиотек учебных заведений есть бюджет на документалистику, поэтому они могут оплатить это.
But this was also the phase where I did more of the traditional distribution methods, where we had a television broadcast with PBS. We did a theatrical release, a very small theatrical release, because it costs more money than you actually make to show these films in theaters.
Мы показывали фильм по телевидению, по PBS, а также были небольшие показы в кинотеатрах.
Digital video release, you know, if you try to make a deal with Netflix if you can, or we're now on iTunes, Amazon, things like that.
Также премьеры в интернете, Netflix, iTunes, Amazon.
And then I'm still trying to think outside of the box, to find someone out there, for example, the VA, which is our national hospital, government hospital essentially for veterans, to try to get them to buy the film and all the discussion materials and use it to educate their staff.
Но важно уметь мыслить нестандартно и думать, кому же еще можно показать этот фильм, например, каким-то организациям, которые на национальном уровне занимаются проблемами ветеранов.
So with Give Up Tomorrow, it was much more of a festival film. The festivals loved that film. It played all over the world and did really well. With Almost Sunrise, it's such an American story that even though foreign audiences enjoy it, it wasn't as obvious, you know, so it didn't play as much in the festival circuit.
«Откажись от завтрашнего дня», первый фильм, он был довольно фестивальный, и он хорошо разошелся по всему миру, он был довольно глобальным. А второй фильм «Скоро рассвет», это более американская история, и хотя она может быть интересна людям по всему миру, основное воздействие она имела именно в Америке.
But our impact campaign, I would say, was much more successful in a way with Almost Sunrise because we found ways to reach the people who could benefit from the film the most, to charge them just enough money to keep the campaign going and, you know, maintain the integrity of the campaign, to have it to actually be a success, for all four of those pillars to actually be accomplished.
Компания фильма «Скоро рассвет» была более успешна, потому что фильм достиг тех людей, которым он мог помочь, потому что у нас хватало денег на дальнейшую работу, и потому что в целом... Окей.
All right. We have about 10 minutes left, and
Осталось 10 минут.
if there's anything that I didn't discuss that's useful, okay, you can start in the back right there.
Во-первых, спасибо огромное. Я не знаю, что было важно другим. Для меня было важно, что это та история, которой мы в Перми пытаемся заниматься, это социализация документального кино. Да, то есть чтобы кино увидели не только киношники на фестивалях, а чтобы оно действительно помогало людям, которым это важно. Таким же, как герои фильма, о чем как раз говорил Коллинз. И вот у меня сразу возникает два вопроса. Во-первых, проскользнуло немножко упоминание о том, что это вроде как уникальный проект для Америки, но вопрос все-таки, есть еще такие документальные фильмы, или Майкл такой уникальный и больше такого не было?
It's as unique as the film is unique, right? There are many other films that have campaigns, but this one, I would say what makes this one unique is the amount of video that we used. Just that constantly going out and creating videos that kept the campaign going.
Этот фильм эта компания уникальна настолько, насколько уникален фильм. Достаточно много есть фильмов с компаниями в Америке, но, скорее всего, мы отличаемся от остальных тем, насколько много у нас создано видео.
И вот все-таки режиссер, то есть сам Майкл, является главным двигателем и компании, и фильма, если я правильно поняла. Или нет, или в компании кто-то другой.
Are you the director, the main engine of the whole campaign, or is it another person?
It's me. There are impact producers, and they help. They definitely help. But as the filmmaker, no one really. I think what drives these campaigns is passion. Just same thing that drives making the film. You know, these are such labors of love, and you really can't substitute that. So you have to want to do the campaign. You can't just farm it out.
Окей, это я, хотя есть импакт-продюсеры в компании, но основное, что движет всем, это страсть, и это некий труд любви, и он исходит именно из меня, потому что нужно снимать фильм, нужно его продвигать.
But I don't want to say that you can't have someone else do it, but it's just a different result, right? And there are people, we hired a lot of people to help us, but without me at the center of it, without me going to the conference and meeting people and making those connections, making those human connections first, and then letting it turn into an email and a phone call and all those things. But I think it's important to make that initial connection yourself.
Я не говорю, что кто-то другой не может быть таким человеком, просто другой будет результат. Дело в том, что именно я имею эту страсть, я встречаюсь с людьми, и если это буду делать не я, то это все будет по-другому.
Спасибо большое. И еще можно, да? Вопрос такой: как вы боретесь с качеством показов не в кинотеатрах? То есть вы же показываете и в школах, и в каких-то организациях, где, я подозреваю, техника не позволяет добиться такого качества показа, как бы это, естественно, хотелось режиссеру.
I had a screening last week in a community center at a VA campus where veterans lived, and the projector was terrible. I could see the pixels. I wanted to cry, and they loved it. So you just have to let it go. Unfortunately, it's too bad, but I want there to be a, if you don't have this projector, then you can't show the film, but that's not going to support the campaign.
На прошлой неделе у меня был показ в центре для ветеранов, где жили сами ветераны, и там был совершенно отвратительный проектор, такой плохой, что мне хотелось плакать, но людям очень понравилось. И если у меня будут высокие запросы к качеству, что, например, если у нас не будет такого хорошего проектора, то мы не показываем фильм, то это не сработает. Надо просто отпустить.
Что-то еще вы снимаете параллельно с этим фильмом, с этой компанией? Вообще какая-то жизнь, кроме нее, в вашей личной жизни? Что это имеется в виду профессиональности?
Yeah, I'm also working on a couple of new projects, so I would leave for a few weeks and start development on other projects. So I'm trying to allow this campaign to live on in the world without me participating. So I put everything on the website, so it's automated now. People can go there and find all of these videos, all of the campaign activities, download the discussion guides, purchase the film. It's all right there. So I need to move on. Yeah.
Да, я работаю над параллельными проектами, стараюсь сделать все, чтобы компания двигалась дальше сама. Я загружаю все на сайт, и дальше она все может продолжаться без меня.
Началом вашего фильма, первые средства на начало съемок и так далее, они были собраны как бы ваши личные средства, или это был какой-то грант, который поддержал бы? Что стало началом производства?
No, I didn't have any money. I started the film. I got a small grant from the Bertha Foundation, just enough to get me out on the road, and then I had someone who gave me investment. I've never worked with investment before, but this time I did. He gave me enough to keep me going for 3 months. So from that 3 months, I created the material for grant applications.
В общем, у меня, в общем-то, не было денег. У меня был очень маленький грант от фонда Берта, а также небольшие инвестиции, которых мне хватило на 3 месяца, но после этого я смог продолжать дальше.
And I used my credit cards a little bit, even though I said I would never do that again.
И я пообещала себе, что я больше никогда не буду использовать также свои кредитные карты, но я делала это.
Сейчас фильм в открытом доступе есть? Если нет, то он когда появится в открытом доступе когда-то?
Give Up Tomorrow, as I said, someone pirated it, so it's free. That's easy to see. The other film is available online, but it's on Amazon, on Vimeo, so it's places where it's just a few dollars to rent it or to buy
В
it.
общем, первый фильм «Спиратели», его уже можно найти на Фейсбуке, «Откажусь от завтрашнего дня», а второй фильм можно найти на Vimeo, на Амазоне за небольшие деньги. Сколько людей у вас в команде?
At different phases, there are different. There's a different amount of people. My crew was quite small. It would be between 3 and maybe 5 people. Sometimes just 2 of us would go out,
Разное число людей требуется на разные периоды, но когда я снимал фильм, у нас было от 3 до 5 человек.
And then for the outreach, I would say about 5 people also at different phases doing different things.
А на следующих этапах тоже примерно 5 человек.
But down to, I could say 2 or 3, and then sometimes I'm kind of, at this moment, I'm doing a lot of it just by myself.
Иногда только 2 или 3, но я очень много делаю сам.
I mean, the truth is, you could do this with a team of 20 people, or you could do it with 2 people.
На самом деле это можно сделать и с командой в 20 человек, и в 2 человека.
It's just a matter of how driven you are, how much time and resources you have.
Зависит от того, насколько у вас прет и сколько у вас есть ресурсов.
Yeah, and I was just going to show you, I think finally, all of this is on the website. So if you want to learn my whole campaign, we have this website, I would say, is too big. It's too dense.
Все есть на нашем сайте, но он очень большой, слишком сложный.
But you can see, the very first thing people see is order film. When they do that,
Сразу вылезает кнопка «Заказать фильм», у нас что-то не работает.
There's a form here that they can fill out.
И там можно заполнить форму.
And then campaign, all of that, the whole impact campaign is outlined here. All the different aspects of it, all the different videos.
Здесь все про эту кампанию, все видео.
Yeah, all the videos that we've made for the campaign are here as well.
В этом отделе все видео.
So that was the idea, was to leave this in a way that the film and the campaign could live on in the world, and I wouldn't have to continue to put money into it.
В общем, надо было только загрузить все на сайт, чтобы дальше это жило собственной жизнью.
Сколько лет вы работали над вот этим фильмом последним?
It took me about 2.5, 3 years to make the film itself. You know, I shot it for about a little over a year, and it took me another. You're always raising funds while you're making it, so it was not moving as fast as I wanted for the edit. And then I spent 2 years on the impact campaign. So this premiered in 2016 in May.
2,5-3 года на съемке, но также параллельно я занимался поиском денег и примерно 2 года на кампанию.
Скажите, пожалуйста, вот в России практически нельзя найти денег на development. Каждый грантодатель хочет, несмотря сколько он дал, он хочет поиметь в конце готовый фильм. В Америке это так? Или у вас можно просить гранты на отдельные периоды производства фильма?
It's also difficult in America, but it's possible.
Это сложно, но возможно.
There's a handful of organizations that have specifically development grants, and some have development for international projects. I think Sundance Institute might be one of them that gives grants for international projects. More and more people want international projects, so I would say I can share, if you give me your email address later, I can just send you an email that has a list of all the grants and all the criteria that we have. I'm happy to share that with everyone.
В общем, есть несколько организаций, которые выделяют гранты именно на development, например, Sundance Institute. Также есть организации, которые дают деньги на международные проекты, и оставьте, пожалуйста, свой email, и я вам напишу весь список этих организаций.
I should have brought my clipboard. I forgot.
Я должен был принести мой лист.
Спасибо большое, Майкл.
Thank you very much.